Welcome to Half a Point, the podcast that saw redemption. Melbourne gets over the top of St Kilda. We called it here at half a point, a crazy upset to cap off round one. But this week is our round two best picks episode. We'll each be giving our five best picks against the spread. To help me break it down, I am joined by my co-host, Carlton Superfan. Cuss, mate. How feeling after that round?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. It was a bit of a, getting a few heart attacks here or there, but survived the week.
Survived the week in one sense, didn't survive the week in another sense. We'll get to that a little bit later on. But yeah, if you're new to the channel, please leave a like on this video and subscribe. We're also active on TikTok, on X, and on Instagram. So give us a follow on those, and also a reminder to please gamble responsibly. All right, Cass, let's jump into round one here. Um, a couple upsets, but we'll start with Carlton Richmond. Your team, it probably should have been an upset. How'd you read this game?
Yeah, look, I think we definitely should have lost that. Tom Lynch probably helped Carlton out a little bit there. I think he went 2-7, missing most of them in like the second half when Carlton were just out of it completely. I think we kicked like one goal for the second half. So yeah, I think we definitely got lucky there. Definitely um should have lost that game. And yeah, the cover wasn't really there. I think I said last week as well, it's just a bit risky when like Carlton's in this mentality where they can't kick a ball in the second half. Just a bit dangerous.
Yeah, awful pick by me there. I was on Carlton. But yeah, Richmond should have won that game like quite easily.
Yeah.
I think like Tom Lynch, thank you so much, man. Saved me. But yeah, Carlton's back. I was wrong about one of these teams. Like Carlton is not that good, and Richmond's not that bad, as I said in the
Yeah.
preseason. But yeah, Carlton second half. You've been on it for a while. It is a real thing. I'm kind of finally willing to admit it. But yeah, we'll see how the market reacts as we go.
You did say you'd never pick Carlton again.
I did say that. I did say if they don't cover this, I'm never pick again. So I've gone early there in round one. We'll see. They might be in better. Thank God they're not playing this week because yeah, never
Yeah.
know. All right, moving on to Essendon Hawthorn. Kind of a blowout, I guess. Essendon were kind of competitive. They weren't as bad as sort of the score suggested, I guess, in the first half at least. But then, yeah, defensively, they just were absolutely nowhere. I think neither of us were on this game. But yeah, Hawthorn, I kind of wish I picked them. But yeah, hindsight's great. But yeah, they were dominant. I feel like it was a nice bounce back after their disappointing performance in round one. Yeah, just roll over this hapless Essendon side. Western Bulldogs, Giants were both on the Giants, but was a bad pick, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like you said, both on the Giants, and it looked good for a quarter or so. And then, yeah, it just fell apart after that. I don't think they were able to really get themselves back in the game after quarter time. And Dogs absolutely demolished them. I think 80 points, 80 odd points,
Yeah.
81. Yeah, so I wouldn't, I don't think it was a bad pick. I just don't think GWS showed up.
Yeah, agree. Like, I'm not mad about, as in the Carlton one. I was like, oh, that's just not a good pick. This one, I wasn't like mad about making it. Like, I didn't mind the process. It just didn't go our way. Moving on
Yeah.
to Geelong Fremantle. Um, man, this was a tough one. Like, I was on Fremantle in the points. Looked absolutely cruising at quarter time, even at half time. But then yeah, Geelong. You sort of knew, sort of saw it coming, like when Freo were out on the legs in the second half there. Came all the way back from 35 down, so I had a 48 point buffer, and I was like, oh no, not this again. If you remember last year, if you were following last year, I had so many of those brutal backdoors. Thank God they ended up covering the 13 and a half. There's a word where they didn't cover, but they ended up covering. They were covering a wider wire, so I think I definitely deserved that. Um, Lomio made a couple comments saying that there's an advantage for the. I don't know if you saw this. There was an advantage for teams who played in the opening round. They have like a game under their belt, and it's a disadvantage for the teams who didn't play an opening round. But and people were saying, oh yeah, like Geelong won and like Hawthorn won and Gold Coast won. I don't think Gold Coast wasn't going to like win that game if they didn't play an opening round, right? Like, so I think
Yeah.
a better measure is how they did against the spread. and the teams that played in opening round versus a team that didn't play in opening round. The team that didn't play in opening round actually went 5-1 against the spread, including Fremantle, who ended up covering. Right, so the only
Yeah.
team that didn't cover was Essendon, who got rolled as we just said. So every other team covered. So I don't know if that's a real thing, and maybe it's actually the other way around. But
Yeah.
yeah, interesting one there. Sydney, Brisbane. I think yeah, we're on opposites here as well. Sydney just roll. They had this was game was pretty much done in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I got the pick where you got Brisbane in the points, but I feel like yeah they came back down to earth. I said I just don't think Brisbane's a very good team, and turned out to be the case. Moving on to Collingwood Adelaide, you actually called this game perfectly. You said Adelaide are going to win, or Collingwood's going to have a crazy comeback in the fourth, which it looked like it was going to happen for a bit.
Yeah, it did. I think like they kicked the first three goals of the fourth, and yeah, a bit of a sweat after that. But I think Adelaide would have covered regardless. I think it would have just been like
Yeah.
Collingwood winning under a goal. So yeah, caught that really well. But it's yeah, I think Adelaide just stepped it up a little bit. Once they got caught behind there. And then next up, North Melbourne and Port Adelaide. I said this was going to be a bit unpredictable, and I definitely did not see North Melbourne winning by 46 points. But yeah, I think they had a little like 10-minute period between like the end of the second and the start of the third where they just kicked back-to-back goals and really helped themselves to cover that line. But yeah, it was good if you went on North Melbourne there, but
Yeah, easy cover, I guess. But we saw them do the same thing to Melbourne early last year, so we'll see how it goes for North Melbourne. Moving on to Melbourne St Kilda. This is just a headline game. Like last year was a headline game. This year's a headline game. We were on opposites. It was your survivor pick. I know the rundown says it's my game to talk about, but please air out your frustrations.
look, I don't know how St Kilda can have what they say, oh, such high quality players, and then put out a performance like that. De Koning didn't show up. How much are they paying him? Naz, you said he kicked three goals, but he need like
Had
in
15 and
terms
3,
of
mate.
yeah, 15's nothing, mate. For if you're paying him like that much money, you need more than 20 touches, 25 touches. I don't care if you kick three goals. And also, they just didn't have him on the field for like a good 7 minutes
That's true.
when they needed him. Like I don't understand that.
Mate,
Game's gone, mate. Game's gone.
Mate, it was redemption, mate. There's no way this St Kilda team could should have been
Yeah,
laying 10 points on the road against this Melbourne side. What did they do to get respect? They just paid a bunch of players, just the most hyped team ever. We called them fraud Kilda last year, and they're definitely frauds. 0-2 now. But yeah, it's just so funny this St Kilda team. It's so
yeah,
funny. It was a good pick. I guess the points, the 10 plus points was never really in doubt. They get the win outright, which was nice. I don't know if you saw whenever Melbourne kicked a goal, Cozzy Pickett, you know how you like hype by hyping someone up, you like push him, bro. This
yeah,
guy like straight up abuse his teammates.
yeah.
He just shoves them. It's so
Yeah,
funny,
surprised he didn't cop a suspension or
dude.
something.
It's so funny if he gets one of them high, mate. Might be going to the tribunal, but
Yeah,
yeah, I just thought
maybe.
that was funny. But yeah, good pick there. Gold Coast, West Coast. It was a little bit of a sweat in the last quarter.
Yeah, it was. I think like by halftime I was like, I've lost this one. I'm going 1-4. But they somehow won the second half, which caught me by surprise. I'm not sure if that's just Gold Coast resting up a little bit, but you wouldn't
Yeah,
really do
definitely.
that. Like,
No,
I
I
don't know.
think it is. I think like they just took the foot off the gas.
Yeah, yeah, just saving their players, I guess. Don't want to risk anything. But also it would have just been easy percentage points, so I
Yeah,
guess you
true.
could take it either way. But like I feel like when West Coast sort of did take control of that game, Gold Coast just put the pedal down and really took control of it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Usually with these like massive spreads, like the spread the number, I usually say get the best of the number, but usually it's like that big. It's like it's gonna go either way. You kind of know pretty early on which way it's gonna go. But this was like 66 with like a couple minutes to go, and I was like, oh my God, can't believe this is a sweat. But yeah, as you
yeah,
said last week, 66 just way too many points. So that wrapped up round one. So dogs actually went 6-3 against the spread and 3-6 straight up. So a pretty good week for the dogs. We usually expect it to be around that. Hopefully at 5-4 at least against the spread for the dogs every week. I get 3-2 as I say every week. Just want to get 3-2. We're happy. If pros go 56% against the spread, you start your streak again. 2-3s for you. I think is a. I mean, yeah, it feels like a nice 2-3. Like you could have well easily been 1-4 or 0 and
Yeah.
5, especially like I started 0 and 2, so it didn't look good for me. So to finish off with 3-2 was pretty happy, but we put it behind us. We move on to next week, which is round two here. Starting off with Hawthorn versus Sydney Thursday night game at the MCG. Last time we played, it was in opening round last year where Sydney were laying 2.5. Hawthorn ended up winning by 20 points. This time around, Hawthorn are 19.5 point favourites. Give me my premiership pick. Give me Hawthorn minus 19.5 here. I know it's a massive number, but Sydney, this is such an awful spot. 5 day break on the road, no Goulden, no Heaney. Such a classic letdown spot for this Sydney side. The market, I feel like, has caught up to that a little bit. Like, this has ballooned up to a massive number now. So if you're on Sydney at this number, then fair enough. I'm not going to blame you, but I feel like it's a little bit similar to the Sydney Brisbane game last week, where I feel like Hawthorn just roll here. Like with this Sydney side, I feel like they're the public darling for this round. They're, like everyone's seen them blow a couple of teams out, and now like everyone's sort of they're sort of everyone's darling. It feels like with this Hawthorn side, it feels like with both of these sides, like 2-1 after 3 rounds feels about right. As I said, Hawthorn's my premiership pick, so I think like they're gonna roll here. Um, a couple of things with the Sydney side, the way they play, like at the SCG, I think it stacks up like small ground. They really slingshot off half back, but you can really get them going the other way. Like if you apply enough pressure on the ball, you can easily get them out the back. And I think this Hawthorn side has not only the pressure and the kickers to do that. Um, and I don't know if you see like McCartan, he's like an interceptor, but he just randomly plays on as well. Like there's a clear motive for them. It works at the SCG, but now going to the MCG, 5 day break on the road. If it's close in the fourth quarter, the Sydney team early in the season after short rest, I feel like Hawthorn, even if it's like a 1 goal game the fourth quarter, I feel like Hawthorn can roll them in the last. So yeah, give me Hawthorn laying this pretty big number, but I like it. What do you think?
Yeah, I like your pick, but it's a stay away for me. I feel like no matter which team I picked, I feel like I was stepping into a trap here.
I
Like
feel like
obviously,
Sydney's a massive trap here.
yeah. I feel like if I pick Sydney, obviously they've been absolutely flying past 2 weeks, and you know the market wants everyone to jump on Sydney here, but I see a world where Hawthorn just do roll this team, but then. Yeah, I just don't know. I just had to stay away from it. If I had to pick a team, probably Sydney to cover, but Hawthorn to win. But yeah, just to
Yeah,
stay away.
fair. I do not see Hawthorn losing this game at all. Even if they don't
Yeah.
cover, I don't see them losing this. All right, fair enough. Moving on to Adelaide versus the Western Bulldogs. Friday night game at the Adelaide Oval. Last time they played, the Western Bulldogs were 8.5 point favourites. My Adelaide Crows last year won by 11. We were opposites that game as well. But they're your Adelaide Crows this year. So your Adelaide Crows are catching 0.5 point this time around. Where you going?
Yeah, I like how you mentioned that this year they're my Adelaide Crows
Yeah.
because I'm going with Adelaide Crows again at plus half a point. Yeah, I think, yeah, obviously Bulldogs have just been flying as well. They've been putting up really good performance. I do expect them to regress a little bit. They even like last week, absolutely crazy. Just everything worked well for them. And I think Adelaide home ground advantage. I expect a better performance from them. Even last week, like they played well, but their big ball winners weren't really involved. Um, so yeah, I do expect a little bit of better performance from them playing at home. So I think they'll be able to cover here. I bet you.
Mate, it's not like me. Like I've already picked one favorite. I'm not going to go two in a row, am I? Of course I am. Give me the Western Bulldogs minus 0.5 point, and give me the Western Bulldogs to blow out this Adelaide Crows side. This game's not going to be close. The Bulldogs are going to absolutely blow them out. Fair. Adelaide catching points at home, fair. I don't blame you for that at all. I'm picking a road favorite here, which I never advise doing, but I'm laying less than a point here. I just
Yeah.
need them to win outright. Um, yeah, I think this Adelaide Great side, as I said, coming to the season, I just don't think they're that good. Yep, they beat Collingwood on the road, but I just made Collingwood's just probably not very good either. This Western Bulldogs side, they're flying at the moment. I think you're getting them at a really bad time. As you said, the market is sort of starting to catch up yet. I don't think they've caught up yet. I think they absolutely rolled this Adelaide side here. Like I know defensively, you can say this is a bad matchup for this Bulldog side, like with all the Adelaide tools, and that's what sort of happened last year. But I feel like that's almost an advantage. Like we say, with that trend about we saw with Brisbane and Geelong last year, like Brisbane lost in the finals week one, but then the grand final sort of flips. Like when a team has a formula that works, then it sort of advantages the team that lost the second time around. And it wasn't that long ago when there's two met. I know it was last season, but I feel it's an advantage for this Western Bulldogs side. Mate, they're absolutely flying. I'm not going to get in front of this Western Bulldogs side. I'm just going to jump on instead. Yeah, if this doesn't cover, like, fair enough. I'll probably be beating myself up for not picking the ugly home dog in this case. But yeah, I feel like the market's still catching up to the Western Bulldogs side. So yeah, give me the Bulldogs. So clashing again, except on opposite sides this time. It's pretty
Yeah.
funny. We'll see how it goes. Moving on to Richmond versus Gold Coast Saturday afternoon game at the MCG. Last time they played, Gold Coast were 50.5 point favorites. End up winning by 84. This time around, Richmond are 34.5 point dogs. Stay away from me. Gold Coast actually almost made my five. I know it's a massive road favorite here, so that's why I elected not to go with it. But yeah, as I said, I know Richmond looked good last week. But I don't know, against Carlton, who knows who this Carlton team is? This Gold Coast side, like they're rolling. There's still that Dimmer thing. I know it's been a couple of seasons now, but I feel like he sort of wants to put it on against his old club. At the MCG this time, it's not a Marvel last year where we saw that crazy Richmond upset. 34, I feel like that's a decent number. I feel like early in the season with this Gold Coast side, you want to be jumping on them more than you're not because they're still one of those teams that want to prove themselves. But yeah, stay away from me, but I'd lean Gold Coast. Or what do you think?
Yeah, stay away from me as well. I think if you have a look at Richmond, they were about almost 30 points behind Carlton at halftime. And that's a team that doesn't have a second half in them.
True.
So, if you're looking at Gold Coast, I think they can do a bit more damage than Carlton can and also maintain a lead. But in saying that, Richmond's a team that can sort of just fight back a little bit. So yeah, I just really not sure, but yeah, everything inside me wanted to jump on Gold Coast here, but it's sort of hard to jump on the away favorite. So stay
That's right.
away.
Rich was one of those teams last year where it's like they either like were like money line, like they had these crazy upsets, or they just got like blown out the water. So you can go
Yeah,
sort of either way. If you're on them, you could sort of try and seek some value. Moving on
yeah.
to the Giants versus the Saints Saturday afternoon game at NG. Last time they played was in round 24 last year, with the Giants were 31.5 point favorites and ended up winning by 11. This time around, the Giants are 14.5 point favorites. Cast, where you go on this one?
Yeah, interesting matchup. I think with St Kilda, they just are not a great team. But they obviously have that room to bounce back and sort of prove themselves a bit more. Maybe some of their high paid players that we talked about before step up and actually do something. But also in terms of GWS, like we saw them in opening round, they beat Hawks at home, but they still did really well to sort of put them away. So for this game, I'm jumping on GWS at minus 14 and a half. Yeah, I think they've got what it takes to, put last week behind them and, you know, put up a good game here against the Saints. And I don't know, part of me wants to say that might win by like 25 points, but I'm not that risky. So how about you?
Falling into a massive trap here, mate. Give me St. Kilda plus 14.5 and give me St. Kilda to win outright here. This is when you jump on St. Kilda. Not last week when they're laying 10 points on the road. This is the week where they're catching 14. This is the perfect spot to jump on St. Kilda. The public's off them. The public got absolutely burnt by this St. Kilda side the last 2 weeks. They're going to be way off this St. Kilda side. That's exactly when we jump on here. I think they win this game outright. I think the Giants, I feel like I said, the injuries, yep, the team sort of catches up for a couple of weeks. It didn't work out last week, but we saw them get exposed. I think now it sort of starts to really catch up with them. This St Kilda side, even if they don't win, I expect them to keep this really close. Like as I said last week, they keep it close against these good teams, and they sort of stuff up against these bad teams. But yeah, I think they win outright here. I think it could be a blowout. Like if they win by 20 plus points, I'm not going to be shocked at all.
Yeah.
This GWS side as well, like at home last year, they were under 500 against the spread. Like they lost to like Port Adelaide. Remember that Richmond game where they were laying
Mm.
44 and like they needed like a miracle to win that game. So yeah, this Giant side at home, they're a little bit weird as favourites, especially. So, yeah, St Kilda catching points. I can't believe you're not on Ross Lyon as an underdog for the first time this season, my man.
Yeah.
Yeah, decoding. Hopefully he's recovered from his viral infection or whatever it was. But yeah, I just expect this St Kilda side to win out right here. But yeah, give me St Kilda on the points. Another clash here. We're clashing a lot this year. I'm loving it.
Hmm.
Moving on to Fremantle versus Melbourne Saturday night game at Optus. Last time they played was in round six, where Melbourne were catching 17 and a half. I think we were both in Melbourne that game. Ended up winning by 10. This time around, Fremantle are 24 and a half point favorites. Stay away from me. At this number, at 24 and a half, I probably lean Melbourne. It seems like a pretty rich number for a Fremantle team that they looked really impressive actually versus Geelong, but were out on their feet in the second half. And this Melbourne side looked really good. If I'm being fair, like the way they moved the ball was sort of a new sort of brand of footy. Does it roll into this week, or is it a letdown spot after emotional win? I'm not too sure, so that's why I'm staying away from it. This side opened at like 17 and a half, 18 and a half ish, and so a lot of the money's been coming from Fremantle. I think fair enough at that number. But yeah, this one I was sort of tossing up between both sides, and I was like, no, I'm just going to stay away. What do you think?
Yeah, I've in terms of Freeman, I think you said it perfectly. Like they played a really good game in the first half, but they just looked so tired in that second half. Like they weren't chasing the ball as much. They just couldn't get to the contest first. So, a bit concerning there. And to be 24 and a half points, you know, uh, to cover the line. Like that's, I feel like that's a lot of points to lay. And Melbourne, yeah, like you said as well, they just looked good the whole game as well. Played a really consistent game of footy, and I think that's just what you want to see, just 4 quarters of footy, and like if you can do that at the start of the season, then that's pretty good for the rest of the season as well. So I'm jumping on Melbourne here at plus 24 and a half. Just taking the points here as well.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, is there a chance they win? I think there is like a tiny chance, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna play any Melbourne money line, but I think there's a chance. Moving
Mm.
on to Port Adelaide versus Essendon Sunday afternoon game at the Adelaide Oval. Last time they played was in round three early, so last year, where Essendon were catching 7.5. Ended up winning by 12 that game. This time around, Port Adelaide are 17 and a half point favorites. We're going with this one.
Feel like I'm walking into a bit of a trap here. Um, this is a team that I do not like to cover. Actually, both teams I don't actually trust at all. But I'm jumping on Essendon here at plus 17 and a half. I just think like I get it, it's Port Adelaide, but they were so disappointing last week. Like I don't know if they won a single quarter, but they just I didn't feel like they were really playing like proper footy. Just seemed like they were just kicking the ball about. And even their captain, Connor Rosie, wasn't really performing that great. So I think there is a chance that Essendon do win here. I think they could definitely sneak a win in. But yeah, I'm definitely taking the points here. At plus 17 and a half. It could so easily be a trap, but what do you
Give
reckon?
me Essendon plus 17 and a half here. Let me join you in this trap. I actually don't think this is a trap. Like I mean, 17 and a half points. It's like, I think that's a pretty fair number. I just think this Port Adelaide team shouldn't really be laying 3 goals against anybody, especially after what they dished up last week. Was it just an aberration? Like if Port Adelaide cover this, like I'm not going to be like completely shocked, but I just feel like at 17 and a half, it's a pretty nice buffer for this Essendon side. Coming off a really disappointing loss last week, long rest edge as well. And I just expect them to have a better effort. I just don't. I think Hawthorn were like really good last week. Like everyone came to play and they really wanted to bounce back from their opening round performance. I think with this Port Adelaide side, they just don't have the talent on the side. Like you have like Rosie, you have Butters, you have Horn Francis, Elia Georgiades, and then after that, there's not a lot on their list that suggests that they're a really good side. With this Essendon side, they're pretty similar, I'd say, in terms of list build, but a couple of the youngsters were impressive. So yeah, I just think it's too many points to lay for this Port Adelaide side. If this is around 11 or 12, I'd probably stay away from it. But yeah, it's just way too many points. So yeah, give me Essendon and the points. Moving on to West Coast versus North Melbourne, a Sunday night game at Optus. Last time they played North Melbourne were 8.5 point favorites, ended up covering and winning the game by 10 points. Absolutely brutal. I was on West Coast that game and it was brutal. This time around, West Coast are 13.5 point dogs. If you've been following this podcast for since we've been doing it, you should be ashamed if you don't know who I'm going to go with here. Give me West Coast plus 13.5 and give me West Coast to win outright here. Absolutely love this one. What is this? What is this number? Why is North Melbourne laying over 2 goals on the road? Like, relax everyone. Massive overreaction from week one. Yep, they blew out Port Adelaide fine at home at Marvel. Where so at Marvel, like we even with the Western Bulldogs, right? Like they pile on. We saw so many times against bad teams last year. They pile on. Same thing North Melbourne did last week. When you move outside, when you move to like a different ground that's actually outside, then you see a completely different team. So yeah, massive overreaction. I think the scoreboard's inflated from that game last week against the Power. And with this West Coast side at home, as a home dog last year, they were really poor. I expect that to regress. I expected to start straight away and expect them to win this game. Like they were, yep, they got beat up by Gold Coast. Everyone's going to get beat up by Gold Coast. We saw Geelong get beat up by Gold Coast. So that's not a surprise. But there were signs there. Harley Reid's looking really good, like we sort of called in the preseason. A couple of the youngsters sort of popping up here. I feel like this is such a, I mean, if they might not win error, and that's fine. But catching more than 2 goals at home against North Melbourne is absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, give me West Coast on the points. No brainer pick, first pick on the board. Like yeah. Anyway, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. First pick that I that I put down as well. West Coast plus 13.5. We've seen as well a trend where when two bad teams play each other, the dog usually gets usually covers. So yeah, I was gonna ask you if you know what the line was before they played Port Adelaide last week for North Melbourne.
Yes.
Because I imagine that would have changed a little bit.
Well, it was yeah, it was like 9.5.
Okay, yeah. four
Yeah.
points. There you go.
Oh, it
But
actually
yeah.
opened. It actually opened at like four, like 3 or 4, right? And
Mm.
then even before the games last week, it ballooned up to 9, and then after the games, it went up to 13, which is obviously ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, quite a lot of movement there. So I think yeah, this has to be a no-brainer. And yeah, like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if West Coast do win the game here.
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah. I mean, if you want to be part of this podcast, if you want to know what we do, this is like the epitome of what we do. West Coast and the points is going to be such a feature this year. I feel like so. Yeah, first week. Yeah, give us West Coast and the points and to win outright for my sake. All right, what are your 5 picks?
So I've got Adelaide plus half a point, GWS minus 14.5, Melbourne plus 24.5, Essendon plus 17.5, and West Coast plus 13.5.
How many dogs is that?
Four.
4 dogs in favor again.
Four.
Very nice. I
Yeah,
haven't
but
done it again.
obviously Adelaide.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
That's still a dog, I guess. Hawthorn minus 19.5. Bulldogs minus half a point. St Kilda plus 14.5 and to win outright. So clash on that. And clash on the Bulldogs as well. Essendon plus 17.5, so the same as that, as well as West Coast plus 13.5 and to win outright for me. All right, so that's our picks. We said last week, Survivor. Um, so it didn't quite go to plan for one of us. We
Yeah.
should have been both of us really. Like my pick was really bad. You were on St Kilda, obviously lost, so you're knocked out completely. But I will ask you, if St Kilda got up, who would you have gone with for your survivor?
I would be jumping on Hawthorn this week.
Hawthorn, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
hate that. I was thinking about Hawthorn, but I'm jumping on Gold Coast this week. I think yeah, I have to use them this week. Like there's a
Yeah.
couple teams on buys and stuff, and so there's not as many games. So I feel like yeah, Hawthorn is nice, but maybe I want to save him for when they're versing like a really bad team or something. I think Sydney I mean if Sydney win isn't going to be the most shocking thing in the world. Like not really. I don't expect them to win, but yeah, I think the Giants are like a sneaky one that could be dangerous. Fremantle was another consideration as well, but as I said, Melbourne. What if they just roll into this week like they did last week? So yeah, Survivor. Fair enough. I guess. Yeah, I guess this week hopefully a bit safer, but yeah, Richmond beat Gold Coast last year, so you never know what happens. All right,
Yeah.
that wraps up our picks for this episode. Closing thoughts, Gus.
Yeah, let's hope you survive this week, mate.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it, mate. Yeah, hopefully we both go through in two. And yeah, hopefully I survive as well. As a reminder, please leave a like on this video and subscribe. And until next week, bye.